All right, welcome to your final review for the CDL vehicle inspection. Think of this as our last-minute cram session, where we're going to zero in on the most critical safety items. The ones that make the difference between passing and failing, and way more importantly, between a safe trip and a really, really bad day. So let's just get right to it. Are you really ready? Because I can promise you your examiner will be. And your safety? Well, that depends on you being ready. So let's make sure that when you get asked, the answer is a rock-solid yes. So here's our roadmap. We'll kick things off with the right mindset, your pre-test briefing. Then we'll hit the critical exterior walk-around. After that, a deep dive into wheels, tires, and suspension. Then it's into the cab for the inspection gauntlet. And finally, we'll talk about what it really means to pass this thing. Okay, section 1. Look, before you even think about turning that key, the most important part of this whole inspection happens right between your ears. It's all about getting your head in the game with a safety-first mindset. This right here, this is the whole thing in a nutshell. This one sentence from the manual is the absolute golden rule. It's not just about acing a test, it's about taking ownership. If you find something wrong, you don't drive. Full stop. That's the principle that defines you as a professional. All right, let's head outside and start the walk around. We're going to do this just like an examiner would, systematically, looking for all those little things that can become big problems. The goal here is to spot the failures before they do. We'll start at the front. So, I want you to picture it. The examiner is standing right there with their clipboard. They're looking at the left front side of your rig. What's going through their head? What are they about to ask you? What are they looking for? This is their checklist. They're looking at your lights. Is that turn signal clean? Is it amber like it's supposed to be? Then their eyes go right to the tire. Any cuts, any bulges, that's an immediate red flag. They're checking that rim for cracks and the hub oil. Trust me, a good examiner can spot a leak from across the lot. That's a huge deal. Okay, now let's kind of zoom out. Beyond just that one corner, you've got these big ticket items that apply to the whole vehicle. We're talking about the backbone of the truck, the stuff that makes sure your rig and your cargo aren't a danger to every single person on the road. And this is where it gets really serious. A crack in the frame? A battery box that's loose and leaking acid? What about your cargo? Is it actually secured? These aren't just details on a form. These are potential disasters waiting to happen. Heck, even a frayed tarp that starts billowing can blind you or another driver in a split second. Now we're moving on to one of the most critical parts of the inspection, and honestly, one of the most failed. The wheels, tires, and suspension. This is literally where your control of a 4010 vehicle begins and ends. And what's so important to see here is how black and white this is. There is no gray area. An examiner isn't going to debate you on a serious cut or a bulge. If you've got mismatched tires, or if your duals are rubbing, it's an automatic fail, no questions asked. And remember, your suspension isn't there for a comfy ride. It's there for control. A leaking shock, a damaged torque arm, that stuff directly impacts your ability to steer safely. And hey, if you've got air suspension, you need to use your ears. If you hear an audible leak, that hissing sound, that's the sound of you failing your inspection. All right, time to climb inside for what I call the gauntlet, the in-cab inspection. This is your final challenge, and it all comes down to the brakes and controls. This is the climax of the test, and there's absolutely zero room for error. So let's walk through this together. First thing, always, safety belt on. Next, you set that parking brake. Good. Put the vehicle into a low gear. Now, gently, just gently pull forward against that brake. And here's the moment of truth. The vehicle must not move, not an inch. If it does, that's a fail. Okay, next up, checking for hydraulic leaks. You're gonna pump that brake pedal 3 times to build up the pressure. Then, apply firm pressure and hold it for 5 seconds. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If that pedal moves at all, if it sinks even a little bit, you've got a leak. That's an immediate out-of-service violation. Game over. And now for the grand finale, the service brake test. You get the truck rolling nice and slow, about 5 miles an hour. Push the brake pedal firmly. Now what are you feeling for? You're checking to see if the truck pulls to one side or the other. That pull is the truck screaming at you that there's a serious problem, one you have to get fixed before you go anywhere. So there you have it. We've gone through the whole mock exam. But I want to be really clear about something. Passing this thing, it is so much more than just memorizing a checklist. This quote from the manual really says it all. The real goal isn't to just point at a part and name it. It's to understand why you're checking it. It's about being able to explain the rules in your own words and applying that knowledge every single time you start your day. That's what separates a driver from a professional. Which brings us to the last question, and it's the one you need to ask yourself every day you climb into that cab. Is this whole inspection about passing a test, or is it about your fundamental responsibility to protect your life and every single other life on the road with you? Think about that.